All right, I'm going to help you all out. I have a Case International 986 1978. I'm working on the injector pump. Now, I've been working on this for a couple days getting it timed because I didn't have all the information necessary when I pulled this thing apart. But if you take, this is your injection pump here, and I've already done this video 5 times, but I keep hitting the button, so I'm going to see if it'll go through this time. So here we go. Let's just change hands. I'll use my left hand to point. Anyway, this is your top cap here. This nut does not turn, doesn't loosen up. This is not used to loosen anything. This is part of the assembly. So you take these nuts off of your injector lines. You have 4 bolts, Allen bolts that come out to get this cap off. Now this cap has a whole assembly underneath. Now so the reason I'm doing this because I had a little leak over here coming out of my little assembly, like right here. I had a little leak right down in there. It was spitting diesel, just like a little stream. So there's an O-ring under this here, and there's actually a flat O-ring down on the bottom. So there's 2 rings in there, and I replaced both of them. But no one told me if I move this mechanism a little bit when I come out, I have to retime everything. So let me tell you, it's been a bear. I wish someone had told me, so I'm telling you so that way we can do this together. Anyway, to get this cap off, you have to take these nuts off, take your lines off, you got to take your Allen bolts off, and down here you have there's a cover. There's a cover down here with 4 bolts. Take those off, cut your safety line, take your screws out. Inside this plate here, there's 2 spacers. Be careful, don't lose your spacers. And behind that is a plug. It's a shaft that goes into the main assembly. There's a little nipple on the end that actually goes into a round ring that is actually on the main assembly. So when you put it back together, you have to put it together the right way. So just be mindful of that when you pull it out. There's a little square nipple on the end that has to sit in the middle of a round sleeve that's on the middle assembly over here. And once you open this up, you'll see the little sleeve and where it has to sit. And when you have it in there right, the pin will just slide back in all the way flush. So if it's not flush, it's not in there all the way. So look, if you take all this apart and you pull this cap off and you move the assembly underneath, you will have to retime everything. So if you can get this up and you can get it up without moving the assembly, there's sleeves under this top cap here. There's sleeves, so if they rotate some, if things move, you will have to retime the system. So there is 2 timing marks on the pump itself. There is one timing mark. I'm going to try to show you, but you know, I need a cameraman. So there's one mark on the casing itself. It's right there at the tip of my screwdriver. It's a little tiny little ridge. That is one mark. Now the other mark is on the inside, on the pump itself, on the bottom ring that has the gear teeth on it. Now once you take the pump out, you will look at your gear teeth ring and you will see that little line on there. Now that line has to line up with the line on the case, sorry. I'm looking at stuff set of my camera. So they have to line up, okay? So you can put that back together and line those pumps, that stuff up, and if you didn't move your assembly in the middle, you should be good to go. But if you're not, if it doesn't work, you know, the 4 or 5 cranks of that tractor over should get her kicking. If you prime it right, she should go. 4 or 5 cranks, she should kick right over, especially if you primed it and you got fuel to your injector leads right here, injector lines. But look, if it doesn't work, here's what you got to do. You got to get everything back in time. So you'll have to do what I said originally, but don't crank this top cap down. If you have to retime everything, put this in here, but don't tighten it so that way, if you tighten this down, the gear is going to hit the bottom. And when you move your flywheel on the front of the tractor, it's going to turn the gears in here and your line's going to be off. So before you put this all the way down, if you do this twice, or if you want to do it the first time, before you put this cap all the way back down and crank it down, don't do that. You want to leave a little gap so that the gears inside here aren't meshing yet. What you have to do is with your first, up here, you have to, come up here. Up here, you have to get, this is your first piston. This is your injector. You got to get this nut off. You got a bolt here to get this sleeve off. This is just a stabilizer to keep that in there. So what you'll have to do is take this nut off, take this 1/2-inch bolt out, take this sleeve off. It's a support sleeve, whatever you call it, whatever you want. And then this injector actually just wiggles out. So just be careful. It comes up out of the sleeve, doesn't turn. It just comes up out of the sleeve. I had a fly. Okay, so you want to put a rod or something in the hole. Be careful, because if that rod's not straight and it's cockeyed and that piston comes up with you cranking on your bar, on your socket, on your flywheel, you could snap off your rod. So be careful, make sure it's straight and in the hole right, or have someone hold it to make sure it's not catching. Because if that rod's in there crooked and that piston comes up while you're cranking on your leverage bar, you could snap something off in there. And I'm telling you, because I know by experience, it's not fun, because if you get metal in there, you got to pull apart your whole motor. You don't want to do that, so be very careful. So, okay, so this has to be almost top dead center. Actually, it's 18 degrees off top dead center. So we're going to go down to the flywheel now. So down here, I have a breaker bar. I have a breaker bar on a 3/4 inch socket. There is 3 nuts in the middle of the flywheel you can use to grab a hold up and turn this baby. And there are hash marks here on the flywheel. I hope you can see those. So there's 40 and 30. You got, I don't know what's next, 50. So here's 0. There's a little nipple up here. Oh yeah, baby, there it is. There's a little nipple there. That's 0. And then there's 10, 20, and down here, right there, if you can see that, it's 18. Each mark is 2. So here is my indicator right there. There's an indicator. Oh baby, where is it at? I lost it. Right by my finger. It's right there. See that little cone coming out from the body, from the casing of the tractor? That's got to hit 18 degrees. Now, if I started my tractor runs. So it's a little bit off right now because I just cranked it over by hand to show you where these hash marks are. So it's not exact, because this is just for video purposes. I just cleaned this up. So I'm trying to help y'all, because I wish I had the help when I was doing this. So get a cheater bar, be careful. You don't want to smack your hands in this stuff. You got all kinds of stuff here to hit your hands with, so get some gloves, be safe. So that 18, I'm going to show you 18 degrees off center. Now I'm going to take you around the right side of the tractor. And now, I didn't have to do this, but I saw guys doing it, so I did it too. Inside here is another main flywheel, and there's also marks on that. Let me get a flashlight. Sorry. Just bear with me, folks. Oh, look, it's on. Imagine that. Okay, so over here is another, this is your main drive wheel on inside. So there are hash marks on there. Let's see if we can get some light. Okay, there's marks in there. So you can see a 20, kinda. Here's a 20. So anyway, the 18's under that. So it's, I don't really know exactly where I think my marker is missing, but it should be like right here in the middle somewhere, the marker that points at the hashtag on the main drive gear in there. So anyway, those match up. That's about 20. That's about 20 on the front. I didn't take the pump off the tractor, so that was a good thing. So this gear here should match up with the front gear. It says 18 degrees off center. So, okay, a couple other things, and I'll wrap this baby up. All right, so okay, here's the deal. So 18 degrees with your flywheel, 18 degrees in the back on that drive, which is, it should match up. Make sure you have all your stuff off of your flywheel before you crank it over. But there's a couple other things. Once you get your flywheel set up, you got to put your injector back in. Of course, you got to put your secure bolts. Make sure your lines are good. Be very careful. Blow this stuff off and clean it off the best you can. I suggest taking some degreaser and a pressure washer and pressure washing this whole thing before you even take anything apart to keep everything clean. So now, after you got your 18 degree off top dead center, sorry, you want to go ahead and put this fixture back down inside the mechanism. Make sure your lines still line up down here. Get your 4 bolts tightened up. You want to go diagonal, and then a diagonal when you tighten those up, cross and cross like you're doing wheels, Put your injector lines on. Make sure you put your little rod back in here with that little nipple that goes inside that little round washer inside with your screws. Now, don't put your safety lines on or nothing. Just chill out. Get this tight, like it was when you took it off, but don't go putting lines in until you make sure it runs, because you'll be doing it twice or 3 or 4 or 10 times, whatever. So yeah, when you put your injector lines on, don't tighten these all the way down. Just put them on hand tight. And then you want to go ahead and you want to prime your tractor. This little wing nut unloosens and this joker lifts up. this just unloosens like that and comes off of the primer pump. And I don't really need to show you, but I'm going to do it anyway. Get down. Come on, Joker. Get off of there, will you? Okay, there we go. So it's off. So this just comes up. It's up and push. That's it. And when you have pressure on that, you'll feel the pressure. When you have pressure on that pump, it'll be up in your pump mechanism. So it only gets up in here. It doesn't push it up in the lines, but it just pushes it up in here. The piston should suck it up the rest. So prime your pump. Don't tighten these down, just hand tighten them. So and then make sure all your tools are off your crank, everything looks good. Don't put this back on yet until everything's working. Go up and crank your tractor over. Now 3 or 4 cranks, you should see diesel starting to spit out of your around your collars here. It's just so you make sure that there is fuel coming to there. Oh, I forgot one major thing. There is a fuel cutoff back behind this left fender wheel. Before you start any of this, you'll have to cut off your fuel, obviously, or you'll have fuel leaking all over the place. And then when you get ready to start the tractor, before you prime it, you have to turn your fuel valve back on. And turn the fuel valve back on, then prime it. Make sure these are loose. I just hand tighten mine, because if they're too tight, whatever, you won't see them spitting. Anyway, crank your key. And you should see these jokers spitting. You should see them spit. Once they start to spit, all 6 of them, crank these nuts back down and leave this off still and crank her over. And your tractor, I hope, will run for you like mine is running for me. It's a great thing when things run right. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God. So that's pretty much it. When you get done, find some wire, put some safety wire in your screws. Just grab a pair of pliers and twist it up, and then put it through the other one and twist that up and cut the tail, put it back together. And I think that's all, folks. I hope this helps somebody, because I wish I had someone telling me before I started this job that it wasn't just remove and replace. I do a lot of remove and replace. It's really simple. I'm really good at it. I'm really good at putting things back together, and every time you do a job, you just get a little more experience. So just be careful, take your time, and be careful with the parts, and good luck, and God bless, and I hope your tractor runs terrific. See y'all later. Have a great day. Bye.